Hello and welcome to another edition of Eye on Jamz Extra. My name is Tim. Very honored to have with me Cliff and Garret from the Cliff Wheeler Band, father, son. Before we get started, Cliff, I'll let you introduce the other members of the band. We don't want to leave them out.
No, absolutely not. My great friend, best man at my wedding, Gary Orlando. We've been playing music together for 30 years off and on. Lead guitarist, awesome guy. And Garrett's roommate, or housemate there, actually, Johnny Handy out of Charlotte, or the greater Charlotte area, plays drums for us and has been with us for going on 2 years now. And just he's a good fit in the band, and we appreciate both those guys immensely.
So, Garret, what's it like to play in the band with your father?
It's awesome. Yeah, it's a lot of fun. Like, it's cool because, like, growing up and stuff, like, I always well, my dad was always in bands and stuff. Like, some of my earliest memories are when I was in my bedroom when I was like 4 and 5 years old, and I was trying to watch SpongeBob on TV, but I couldn't hear the TV because the band was rehearsing in the garage. And then I remember going out there and like putting on this like terrible like long like curly wig thing and they just headbanging while they were jamming and stuff. And then later, so I was always kind of around it and stuff. And then when I was old enough to or big enough to carry the amps and stuff for him, that was that was the way that I would try to help out and stuff. So it just kind of seemed natural that we'd start playing together.
Well, did you ever envision that you would actually be in the band with your father and playing with your father?
I don't know that I ever really thought about it that much. When I first started playing, when I first started kind of getting to where I could play a little bit and like get through songs and stuff, Dad's actually in the praise band at our church, and he let me come up and play some songs with them, and then that kind of turned into like me like sitting in for their bass player every now and then. Like he was in a blues band at the time, the Fog Blues Band, which is a great band, and I was already kind of their roadie and stuff, carrying all the heavy stuff for them. So every once in a while they'd let me come up and sit in for a song or two, and then when their bass player couldn't make it, I would fill in with the shows and stuff. So it kind of it was a progressive thing. So it's cool that we get to play together, you know?
Cliff, as you were watching Garret grow up and take an interest in music, did you ever envision him being in a band with you?
Not initially. It took him a while to settle on the instrument, to be honest with you. I mean, I very much believe in that any kid that wants to play music should have the opportunity to play music. And so when he started showing the interest, I think he started with drums, and so I bought him a miniature trap set, and he got to where he could like carry a basic rhythm, and then gave up on that, and then he went to guitar. So I was there's this awesome music store down in South Carolina, right on I-85 called Haynes. It's out of business now, unfortunately, but I stopped in there and I bought him a 3/5 scale Stratocaster and a little practice amp and carried it home to him, and he messed around with it a little bit and lost interest in it, and then he wanted a keyboard, so I got him a keyboard, and same story, but he was so there's the 3/5 scale
guitar,
and so we were talking music one day, and I said, look, if you really want to be in a band and you really want to be valuable and be able to find bands to play with, the easiest thing to do is to play bass, because bass is a relatively easy instrument to play, but there's not that many great bass players. Most bass players are guitar players that just aren't really good on guitar. I hate to say it that way, but
it's true.
But a true bass player is hard to find. And I said, so if you get proficient at bass, you will never have any trouble playing. And then the next thing I know, and honestly, I'm not taking credit for this because I just gave him the rudimentary basics on the instrument, and he took it from there. And 7 years later, he's the Carolina Country Music Association Bassist of the Year. So, I mean, that's kudos to him. He did all that on his own. But to answer your question, I never answered your question. So when he started getting really good, I was like, he might be my son, but I want him in my band.
Cliff, what have you learned having him in your band from him, if anything?
Oh man, a ton. Probably more than he has learned from me. And I mean that sincerely. He's up to date on all the software, recording software. I mean, that's what he studies at school. The technology side of things, I never, until the past 4 months, had studied music theory. So he's a great music theory guy. I mean, that's what he's going to school for. And so he sort of prompted me that while we were shut down for the COVID shutdown, I went and started taking some private music theory classes and have learned in a short amount of time a lot. I feel like a lot. And I think it's going to make me a better songwriter, better player. And that all comes from what Garrett's doing.
How valuable is it to have somebody like Garret who is young and more in tuned with technology than, I hate to say it, but you and I are kind of the older generation. We didn't grow up with this technology. So to have him there to help you with that.
Oh, well, he'll tell you. I send him to-do lists all the time on the technology side. And I'm like, all right, you need to do this to the video. You need to send this video here. You need to contact these people and do this, because I'm actually getting better at it, but I'm not a real technical guy when it comes to computers and stuff. And yeah, it's a tremendous asset. And I honestly don't think the Cliff Wheeler Band as a whole would have achieved the level of success, be that what it is, that we would have without Garret being a part of it, just being honest with you.
Well, Garret, what have you learned from your dad being in the band outside of just learning music when you were growing up? What have you learned from Cliff being in that band?
Oh my gosh. I mean, so much. And this is something that I talk about with a lot of my music friends, that a lot of the things that I learned from my dad and Gary, it's not even necessarily things about playing, but like little things like bring 2 guitars to the show for when you break a string, or you don't have 1 extra cable, you have 10 extra cables, or I mean like things like that you wouldn't necessarily think about or like appreciate when you first start out, like. But I mean, another thing too is like the importance of playing music with people that you really like being around. And that's something that my dad is like always talked about, is that like, I mean, the key to having a successful team in anything, like not just music, but in anything, is to be with good people and people that you enjoy working with, because that just makes the experience like so much better. And that's always, I mean, like the CWB is, or that's what we call a Cliff Wheeler Band. It's not just a band. I mean, it's really the family. Like, I mean, and not just because it's me and dad in the band, but I mean, it's our family is like all of our friends and some of our like relatives, like our family. Like, I mean, it's really like a whole, I mean, it's so much more than just music and stuff, but yeah. Sorry, did that answer the question?
No, you're fine. You're fine.
If I could add one thing to that, and I was hoping he'd say this because he's told it to me a couple of times, but he told me one of the best things I taught him was how to rehearse. And that you rehearse a show. You don't rehearse a song. I mean, you got to rehearse a song until you've got the song down, but you rehearse a show. And because, I mean, as much as we love doing the recordings and putting the good songs out, making music videos and all that kind of stuff, what we love is entertaining a live audience. And honestly, I think that's our strongest point, is we are a really good live band. But the reason we are is because we put the time in, like I said, not just rehearsing the songs, but rehearsing the show. I mean, it's not choreographed and stuff, but you know that we're going to go straight from this song into this song with no pause, you know, and then, you know, there's going to be a little break and I'm going to talk for a few seconds. And then we're going to do 3 strong songs back to back to back. And that's the kind of things that with, not just with Garret, but the other young musicians that I talk to, and I try to tell them is, you know, be professional about what you're doing.
Cliff, that's the first time I've heard anybody say that. Rehearse the show. You mentioned you got to rehearse the songs, you got to know the songs, but to rehearse the show. And you're the first person I've had say that. So talk a little bit more about that and the importance of that.
Oh, it just makes and again, I think that's part of and I learned, it's not like I made this up. I mean, I learned it from other people that were older than me, like Garret has done. I always made it a point when I was coming up, one, to try to play with the best musicians that I could, and those were always the older guys. And so I learned from them that you don't want to, when you're doing a show, the show needs to flow. And it can't flow unless everybody on stage knows what's getting ready to happen next. And so we literally, it's sort of like Willie Nelson opening up his concerts with Whiskey River, you know, Whiskey River. Everybody knows when he comes out, he's going to hit those 4 chords, bong, 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 or, you know, and then Whiskey River is coming. So everybody on stage knows what's happening. And so when we prep, which we hopefully will be doing soon, I've got a little barn studio out behind the house in Lemon Springs, and we'll go in there before we hit the road to go out on tour, and we'll spend 3 or 4 days, and we'll do the show 3 or 4 times every day and get the show down tight. So when we go out, the show just flows.
Yeah. And one thing I would like to add to that, but like, I mean, you kind of said this too, Dad, but like the moments in between the songs, like we do, we don't use like a bunch of different alternate tunings and stuff, but we have, like, for any of the musicians out there, specifically guitar players, we do stuff in standard tuning and then in drop D. So we have to retune our guitars at some point. And knowing when we're going to retune, and there's even a point in our show where me and Gary are retuning before Dad is, and then the next song when he's tuning down, I know that while he's doing that and we're already in tune, that I need, or, you know, I usually have a microphone and stuff because I sing backup and stuff. So that's the time where I usually say something, or, you know, say, give it up for Johnny Handy on the drums back here, or like whatever it is. But like, just like knowing exactly what's going to happen and being able to, like, every show is a little different, you know. I mean, no 2 shows are exactly the same, but like being so used to the way that everything goes, to where it's not a guessing game, it really makes it where it's really easy kind of just to drop into that mode, and like,
not a guessing game, but it's keeping the flow going.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You guys have released a new single, "Let Me Down." Talk a little bit about that single that just came out.
You want to start, or you want me to, Garret?
Here, you go ahead. You go ahead, and then I'll say something.
So this song is the first one that we've released that I didn't write. This is actually is that we've released commercially. We did do a cover of "When the Levee Breaks." That was a free giveaway when we put the first album out. But we've got some great friends out in the greater Nashville area the song was written by a really good friend of mine named Scott Kirk, who was the drummer in St. Luke's Drifters, and then that sort of morphed into the Nashville Nonprofits. And he wrote that song, and we've done probably, gosh, I'd hate to guess, 8 or 10 shows, maybe, Garrett, with the Nashville Nonprofits.
I have no idea. Something like that. At least that many.
Yeah, we've done a lot of shows with them. They're good friends. And I just always loved that song. And so deciding to do this song was really probably like a year and a half in the making. That because I told the guys in the band, I said, look, I really want to do this song. It's a great song, and I just want to do it and put our spin on it. And so when the time came and we got ready to start working on it, I wanted to stay true to the song, but I also wanted to very much make it a Cliff Wheeler Band song and do justice to it. And so we started kicking around ideas, and I was like, you know what? I think I'm going to, because if you listen to the St. Luke's Drifters version, which is on their albums, on their first album, it is a very rocking tune, lots of distorted guitars. And I was like, you know what, to change it up, I think I'm going to play the whole thing, including my part of the lead, on acoustic guitar. And from there, it just sort of morphed. And then this is also, Tim, the first song that I pretty much gave Garrett creative control over. I'm not going to say 100%, but probably 85% creative control over. And so with saying that, I'll let Garrett take it from there.
Yeah. So, yeah, I definitely, this song, it would, as far as picking the song, yeah, like my dad said, he had mentioned a while ago, like, I think it was actually after a gig one time, he was like, man, you know, that's such a good song. I want to play that song sometime. And when he mentioned it to the band, like on the ride home after a gig with the Nashville Nonprofits one time, he said, well, we were all like, yeah, that's such a good song. That really is a good one. And then, you know, I guess last year, the timing was right. And we came together and we were kind of putting some new stuff together. And I had, because I'm studying music in school, I had started developing my piano skills and stuff. And I was like, man, the chords to this song, it's so funny because Scott, the songwriter for the song, he's a drummer and he sings. He's a great singer. I mean, a phenomenal singer, phenomenal drummer. And but the chords to the song are great. And I was like, man, these chords, like, we have a lot of room with this song to do something different from what they've done, because their version is very rockin' and it's very rock oriented. And I was like already interpreting it, you know, turning it into a CWB song. It's already going to be a little bit different, but I was like, man, we have an opportunity with this song to do something that we haven't done before. And that I think we could, you know, bring in the piano and really think about, you know, the tonality of the music and stuff, instead of just doing kind of some of the traditional like rock things we've done with like the power chords and stuff like that. So yeah, it was an awesome opportunity. Dad really kind of let me take the lead on that, as far as like kind of getting our arrangement down. And we transpose it. We do it in a different key than they did. And because our voices are both, I would say, medium to low voices. So I think we both have a pretty good range and stuff, but we tried to fit the song into where we could both sing it in the best part of our voices. And I think that, especially on this song, I think that Dad sounds great. Like, I think it's one of, with Dad, I think it's one of your best vocal performances that we have recorded. And I'm not just saying that. I mean, and then we were able to incorporate harmonies like in a way that we really hadn't done, which it kind of, if you look at the last 2 songs that we've done in the CWB, and then even some of the stuff that we did before on the first 2 albums, we were kind of, I would kind of bark out a couple lines every now and then when we were playing live, like gotta find my way, like I'd kind of just double what you were doing. But starting with Sunshine, where really I kind of had learned enough about recording harmonies where I was singing something different from you that went along with what you were doing, but trying to make it like a sing-along in that sense. And then with Trouble Is, we kind of took it a step further in that direction. And then with this one, I was like, this is a song where I can sit down at the piano and like come up with some like cool vocal harmonies to where hopefully we can have everybody that hears it singing along with it, because there's several different vocal melodies to latch onto once you get to the chorus. And it's such a good song that it was like, it almost kind of felt like there was no way we could go wrong with it as long as we, just gave it our best shot. And yeah, so it was really fun. I kind of got to produce the sessions on this and got Dad and Gary to do some harmonized guitar stuff. And this is a really cool experience. Yeah. That
was your opportunity. That was your opportunity to have your dad do something really crazy.
Yeah. And it was cool because I feel like I did an EP of like, it's a self-produced thing of songs that I had written last year. And we just recorded it like at our house and stuff. But we did the best we could with, it being recorded like in the upstairs of our house. But I learned so much just about arranging and songwriting through that. And I was like, man, like some of the stuff that I learned in this, like we should really bring into the CWB, because I think that it would, we could do something cool with it, because like just showing these guys, like the way that I was thinking about stuff at that time, but then them putting that through the filter of like the way that they approach things, it's cool.
Well, talk about overall your songwriting. Is it a group effort? One or two of you do the writing?
Can I answer this one? Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
So
is that the cue that I'm supposed to turn his mic off so he can't say anything?
Yeah, no. I just want to say, so the way it's kind of changed over time. So the first album, Dad, like he locked himself away at Oak Island for like a week, and he went down to Oak Island by himself, and it was living at the beach, and just he had a bunch of ideas for songs that he had I'd helped him kind of record some basic like demos and stuff, but he went down there with ideas and turned it into an album. And then he brought it back, and the lineup was a little different at that time because there wasn't really the plan to be a band as much as it was like, it was just going to be like a project. And he brought the skeletons of the songs in. So all the riffs were there and the songs were there. And then we all kind of just adapted to that. But then following the release of the album, people started asking us to play shows and stuff, which was something that we hadn't necessarily prepared for. So it was kind of very quickly we became a band. And that's when we ended up with the lineup that was our original drummer, Kevin Griffin, and then Gary and Dad and me. And then at that point, we still kind of had that same process where Dad would have the songs. Like even now, he's the driving force in it, and he has the songs and he brings it to us, and then we add our parts to it. But I will say over the last several songs we've done, it's become more of a group effort and stuff. And I think you can see like in the way that the sound of all of our stuff has changed, you can hear kind of different forces coming into play with that. But yeah, he definitely, he has from the very beginning had a very clear vision for what he wanted to accomplish with this band. And that really kind of helped us, wrangle our ideas together and like actually, get stuff done.
What's coming up next for the Cliff Wheeler Band?
Well, we got some pretty cool stuff coming on. Garret and I just booked a series of can't remember if it's 7 or 8. We're doing one a month shows at the coast. We're going to call Wheeler and Son, and it'll just be the two of us and acoustic guitars, and it's pretty cool. We were emailing back and forth today. We wanted to be together to do this and have this conversation with you, but logistics just didn't work out for us. So it's going to be a 3-hour long show, and or a series of 3-hour long shows. And so we were thinking that we were going to have to throw some covers in, because some of the Cliff Wheeler Band stuff just doesn't translate to acoustic very well. And but actually, after we sat down and started, Garrett's going to do half dozen or 7 or 8 of his original tunes off his EP and singles that he's put out. And then we started looking at what we're doing, and I think we might be able to squeeze 2 or 3 covers in, and the rest of it's going to be 3 hours of original Cliff Wheeler Band and Garret Wheeler solo songs. So we're excited about that. Things are just now starting to pick back up booking wise. We're be playing the International Singer-Songwriters Association pre-award show. We'll be headlining the pre-award show party in Atlanta in August, if that happens. I think that's still a little bit up in the air. In September, we'll be a co-headline on the Carolina Indie Fest here in North Carolina. We're excited about that. I think it's like 42 bands from across the country are coming into North Carolina to play. Big deal for the town of Sanford is hosting it, and they're being a very welcoming host. I'll be playing the South Carolina Songwriters Festival in October. There's an amphitheater called Gross Farms that we'll be doing shows at it probably in October and November, or one or the other. Commodore Bar and Grill out in Nashville has just reached out to me, wanting me to come out and do a songwriter showcase. Pretty excited about that. We hadn't set a date for that yet, but pretty excited about that. And then going into next year, we'll be playing the Carolina Country Music Association Award Show in the House of Blues, Myrtle Beach in January. And then, as we talked about a little bit before we went on the air, looks like we'll be headed out to Texas in March for South by Southwest in 2022 and playing the Texas Indie Fest. And so that'll be a tour. We'll tour out there and back, and maybe even get over your way while we're out there in Texas.
I was going to say, you just got to keep coming a little bit further west from Austin.
Yeah. We'll try to see what we can do.
Hey, there have been talks of an extended tour after me and Johnny graduate.
Well, we're working on that, but
we're working on it.
He didn't seem to commit to that, Garret, too much.
We're working on it.
I've been working on it, man, but the things are just not quite opened up quite enough yet to make it work good. So, but I'm still working on it. I'm still emailing people every day. But beyond that, what we've talked about is I think Let Me Down is going to be the last single that we're going to do this year. I started writing. Actually, Garret and I were working on a song I just finished this past Sunday, working on arrangements for it. This next album, so we're talking about doing an album, hopefully putting it out around January. So we did 2 albums in less than 2 years, and then we toured for about a year off the 2 albums, and then we decided to do the single thing that everybody seems to be doing nowadays, where you put a single out every 3 or 4 months instead of doing albums. But I think I want to do another album, or at a minimum an EP. And so I've started writing. I've got some good tunes. They're not all going to be full band rocking songs. It's going to be a blend of what you've seen from the Cliff Wheeler solo stuff, like Sober Again and Farewell Song, and full band songs. Might even have a bluegrass song on there, to be honest with you. I've got one written. I'm just trying to figure out how I can get Gary to play bluegrass. But anyway, so that's sort of the big picture right now. But we're just going to keep on riding this horse until we ride it to the ground, man.
Well, you touched on it just briefly about the releasing singles or releasing albums. What's your thought on all of that?
You know, so the whole thing, the reason I started doing singles, we started doing singles, was because you put an album out and there's this big bang at the very beginning, but then 6-8 months down the road, it starts, you know, you see the steep incline, and then it goes down. So the thought process being that if you do a single, a quarter, or 3 a year, whatever, it's got more staying power because you're keeping your name out there. And I guess there's benefits and faults to both of them, just to be honest with you. I'm an old school guy. Look at me. So I like albums. So, you know, will we continue to do singles? Yeah, occasionally, but I would like to go back to doing albums again, just because you can sort of do a concept and sort of put a story through the whole album. And even though our music is very diverse, if you listen to the first 2 albums, start to finish, they don't necessarily tell a story, but even though they go from almost pure country to almost heavy metal at points, it all sort of works together and takes you on a musical journey, the way I see it. And so I'm sort of excited to do another, like I said, either EP or album. I've got 2 songs that are ready. I mean, I'd be ready to go in the studio next month and record them, and I've got 3 more in the works. So I've got time, so it will probably end up being an album.
Yeah, I will say, as an artist, and I think this is something you kind of touched on, Dad. As an artist, it really does seem to be more like fulfilling with like an album, because you have more time to say what you want to say, but also it feels like when it's done and you have the final mix of the whole thing, you can sit down and listen to it, and it takes up like 45 minutes of your time or an hour, like whatever it is. It really, the feeling that you've done something is so much more tremendous versus like, you know, it's always a great feeling when you get the final mix, the final master for a song, like, and you can listen back to it. It's always great. But when you have a single and you listen to the same song a billion times, so that by the time you get to the master, even though you still, you know, hopefully you still love the song, you're a little burnt out on that one song, versus when you have the album, it feels like you don't get as sick of hearing it necessarily, because you can hear different. You have the opportunity to hear different songs and stuff, and it feels like you really do just have more time to get your message across. You know, to me at least, that's what I see.
What's your favorite song to play live at your shows?
Mine is Judgment Day. That's just like the riff, like the riff that Dad wrote for that, like and then like honestly, just the way when we come back in, like if you're familiar with that song, like the second half of that, like where we kind of do a re-intro and like the drums and stuff, like that is just always like I like, even just thinking about playing that song, I get kind of the feeling in my stomach, like it's always just hard hitting. I love that one.
Yeah, I'd say that, and then I probably get the biggest thrill. So on I've got this song, this acoustic song on the album, but it's called "Dancing Diablo." But when we start the shows, I play it with a super distorted, heavy digital delay echo on it, and it's like that's how we start every show, and that just sort of like gets the blood flowing. And so that's always sort of a thrill for me to play Dancing Diablo to start the shows. And I'm doing it all by myself, and don't get the wrong idea. Every once in a while I hit a squeaker or two in there, but but it's just fun, and it sort of gets the audience hyped up, and then we go right into um, yep, from it, and which is a pretty rocking tune too. And so we started with really high energy, but I won't argue with Garret at all, because Judgment Day is of all the songs I've written, that is absolutely one of my favorite. And Gary just wrote the perfect guitar lead for it, and especially like where Garrett's talking about where we do the re-intro, and he just drones on this note, very Clapton-ish, and that's pretty kicking too. But I'll be honest with you, we on the live shows, we don't have a song that I don't look forward to doing. We play the cream of the crop on the live shows, so it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's funny you say that Dancing Diablo, because like we were talking about with like having rehearsing the show and being super used to it. Like even when we practice and or rehearse and it's the full band, we always like, we're hanging out and we're talking like whatever, and then Dad'll start that one on his guitar, and then everyone shuts up and we watch it, and it's like that's that moment where you're like, oh, it's about to happen. It's like we're about to rock, and then like you sit there, and then like it's just it's a great piece and stuff, and it just really sets the stage for like what we're about to do.
You posted on social media, I think it's been maybe a month or so now, about having a sponsorship or endorsement deal with Gone Country Hats. How did that come about?
I was hanging out with our mutual friend Scott Stevenson, and Jason Ray Welch came by and was hanging out with us, and he said that he had a friend that had a hat company, and he was getting ready to do a hat sponsorship, or they were going to sponsor him, and he sent me or said, "Are you interested?" And I was like, I'm a cowboy hat guy, and I was like, "Yeah, sure." And so honestly, didn't think anything more about it. I didn't reach out to anything, and then like a couple of days later, I get this message through Facebook Messenger, and it's the owner of the company going, "Hey, if you'd like a hat deal, we'd like to talk to you." And so I was like, "Well, yeah, I want a hat deal." So,
does that mean you get a free hat every month or so? You get to change your hats?
Yeah, it's cool, man. And I've been wearing them out. Every time I see one that I like, I'm right on that messenger. Hey, I could use one of those.
Yeah, that's one you're wearing now, right?
Yeah, it is. GoneCountry.com, but GoneCountryHats.com. But I better get that right. That's important.
Yeah, you're gonna have to learn that for when you start doing the shows.
Yeah. But it's but they're very cool, man, and they're a great sponsor. They send me all kinds of free giveaways to give away to throw out at the shows and stuff, koozies and stuff like that. Good folks, and like back to what Garret was saying about surround yourself with good people and you'll have success. I think they're good folks, and they've done everything they said they would do, and I'm proud to be part of the team.
Well, congratulations on that deal.
Thank you.
Garret, congratulations on you. I understand you're going to be graduating college in a few weeks, so congratulations on that.
Oh, yes, sir. Thank you very much.
We were joking right before we went on the air about you just staying in school longer, and your dad kind of nixed that idea.
Yeah.
He got to do the victory lap already, so.
Yeah, I'm already on the 5-year plan, so I think I've had about enough.
Hey, 5-6 years, what's another year?
Yeah, exactly. Maybe I'll go for a master's. We'll see.
Yeah. That'll be on you, brother.
If I've been throwing up your website on the screen, but if people want to learn more about Cliff Wheeler, where else can they go beyond the website?
You want to handle this, G?
Yeah, throw it to the young guy. He knows all that technology.
Sure. We're on Facebook there at Cliff Wheeler. I think the website, well, you said you included the website. We're on Instagram at I need to check this.
He's got to look it up right now.
I think it is. I can't remember if it's official Cliff Wheeler or Cliff Wheeler official. It's Cliff Wheeler official on Facebook. On Twitter, where it's Mac Wheel Music, and I think that's everything, right? Right, Dad?
Yeah, I think you got them all.
Yeah, they really put me on the spot with that one.
If you just search Cliff Wheeler on Google, you'll find us. I promise you.
Yeah, we're everywhere. Just look us up.
Gentlemen, I want to thank you very much for taking time out of your day to be a part of this interview. Pleasure visiting with both of you. Garrett's first time I've had the opportunity to visit with you, so pleasure visiting with you. And like I said, congratulations on your graduation.
Thank you. Yeah,
kind of sad to hear that it's going to be January before we get some new music or a new album from you guys, but I understand the process. So looking forward to hearing that, but looking forward more importantly to seeing you guys being able to get on the road again and play live shows.
Oh man, we have missed that so much. No one more so than Gary. Gary lives to play live, and we are excited that things are finally starting to break. And yeah, we're ready to get out there and to do it. We can't wait to see all the fine folks out there. We had such a promising year lined up for 2020 that just sort of crashed and burned after March, and we were actually on tour when everything shut down, doing a spring break tour while the boys were on spring break, and everything just sort of crashed and burned. So we are excited to get back out there, and we may slip a single in there between now and the end of the year. So don't worry too much. I got a few ideas.
Well, that'd be fantastic if you just snuck one in there in September or so.
Oh yeah, and we're always sharing live stuff from when we do shows and stuff, and we do, like last summer, the way we were able to cope with not playing shows, we were doing we call it the front porch sessions. I was back home for most of lockdown, so we were doing just both of us playing acoustic, and with the shows we're doing later this summer, and with that kind of lineup, we'll definitely be sharing stuff. So there'll be more stuff coming.
Looking forward to it. Thank you very much, gentlemen. Wishing you guys much success down the road.
Thank you, Tim. Appreciate you having us on, buddy.
You're welcome.
Thank you very much.